The palace of Princess Nera stood on a shining hill of crystal. It looked like glass carved by the hands of light itself. Towers reached into the sky, glowing with colors that shifted like the surface of water. From those towers, songs of energy moved across the land, giving power to cities and fields. Her people, known as the Scifi, were proud beings. They had lived under the stars for thousands of years. Their ships could travel between suns, and their wisdom was written and endless. Records of knowledge dot, but Princess Nera faced a problem that wisdom could not solve. She had 3 daughters, each strong and gifted. The eldest, Lyra, had the mind of a leader and the strength of a fighter. The second, Mira, had a spirit full of laughter, with quick hands and quicker ideas. The youngest, Sona, was calm and thoughtful, always speaking with a voice that carried peace. Many noble families had sent suitors from across the galaxy, yet none of the daughters wished to accept them. Each suitor brought gifts, jewels, and promises of power, but the daughters turned them all away. The council grew restless. In the grand chamber of the palace, 12 elders sat around the princess. Their robes shimmered with silver light, and their eyes glowed with the wisdom of age. One elder bowed and said, "Princess Nera, your daughters refuse every suitor. Our families are troubled. We fear that alliances will weaken." Nera listened in silence. Her gaze moved to the stars beyond the window. She thought of her people, who had seen every kind of being in the galaxy. They had spoken with giants of fire, with creatures of ice, and with minds made of pure energy. Yet there was one race that remained a mystery to them. That race was humanity. She raised her hand, and the chamber grew quiet. If suitors from every star failed to win their hearts, she said, then bring me a suitor from Earth. Bring me a human. The council stirred with surprise. Some whispered among themselves, not sure if they had heard correctly. The eldest of them stood and asked, "Princess, why call for a human? They are young among the stars. Their ships are few, their power small. What can they give your daughters?" Nera's voice was steady. "We have seen power, wealth, and wisdom in many forms, but my daughters do not seek only those things. They wait for something different. The humans are untested, yet their hearts burn with a fire not found elsewhere. I believe one of them may be worthy." The words carried across the chamber like a command carved in stone. No elder dared to argue further. With a bow, they accepted her order. Messengers prepared ships to travel beyond their borders. A strange mission had begun, one that would cross the dark gulf of space and touch the blue planet called Earth, far away. On that small world, life moved on as usual. In one quiet city, a young man named Aaron worked at the docks near a wide river. He was not rich, nor did he carry fame. Each morning he helped load crates onto ships that carried goods across the water. He had strong arms from lifting and quick eyes that noticed small details. Though his work was plain, he often dreamed of distant stars. At night he would sit by the riverbank and look at the sky, wondering what worlds lay hidden beyond those lights. One evening, as the sun sank and painted the clouds with gold, Aaron felt the ground tremble. He looked up to see a shining craft descend slowly from the sky. It was shaped like a silver bird with wings of light. People nearby ran in fear, but Aaron did not move. He stood still, watching as the craft touched the earth without sound. A door opened, and tall figures stepped out. Their skin glowed faintly, and their robes shifted with colors that seemed alive. They were Scifi messengers, sent by order of Princess Nera. One of them spoke, his voice clear, though his mouth did not move. The words formed directly in Aaron's mind. "Human, you have been chosen. Come with us to the stars." Aaron's heart raced. "Chosen? For what?" he asked, though his voice shook. The messenger replied, "Our princess has called for a human suitor for her daughters. By fate, you are selected. Will you walk with us?" The choice felt heavy. Aaron thought of his simple life, his small room by the docks, his quiet days of work. He thought of the sky he always wondered about. Now that sky had opened its gates to him. With trembling breath, he nodded. "Yes, I will go." The messengers lifted their hands, and a glow surrounded him. His body rose gently from the ground, carried by invisible waves of power. The people of the city gasped as they watched. But Aaron could no longer hear them. The ship welcomed him with walls of light. Smooth as glass, but warm to the touch, inside, the air smelled fresh, like rain. After a storm as the ship rose back into the sky, Aaron looked through a clear window. The river, the city, the fields, all of Earth grew small beneath him. His chest tightened. Not from fear, but from awe. The stars that had always seemed far away now opened before him. He whispered to himself, "So this is the path I was meant to walk." The Scifi ship leapt into faster than light travel. Aaron felt no motion, but the stars stretched into rivers of light outside. One messenger stood beside him. "Do not be afraid, human. You are now part of a story greater than you can imagine." Aaron nodded slowly. His heart still pounded, but his eyes shone with wonder. He did not know the trials ahead, nor the weight of being chosen as a suitor for alien daughters. Yet he knew one truth. His life had changed forever. Back on the world of the Scifi, Princess Nira stood on her balcony, gazing into the night sky. She felt the bond of destiny moving like unseen threads. She whispered to herself, "Let the human come. Let us see if his spirit can shine among the stars." And so began the tale of a human called across the galaxy to stand in a court of light, where his heart would be tested not only by trials, but by the gaze of 3 daughters waiting for a suitor unlike any other. The Scifi ship moved through space like an arrow of silver light. Aaron sat near a wide crystal window, staring out at the endless stars. His heart was still racing from what had happened. Only hours ago, he had been lifting crates by the river. Now he was sitting inside a vessel that flew faster than light, carried by beings who looked like living starlight. The Scifi who guided the ship were tall and calm. Their movements were smooth, as if they never hurried. They spoke to Aaron with gentle voices, but their words still carried weight. One of them, who seemed to lead the group, stood near him. His name was Cyril. His robe shimmered in blue and silver, and his eyes glowed softly. "You are quiet, human," Cyril said. "Does fear fill your heart?" Aaron looked at him and shook his head slowly. "I am not without fear, but I also feel wonder. I never thought I would see the stars this way." Cyril nodded. "That is a true answer. Some would hide their fear. You speak it with honesty." The ship glided through a sea of light. Aaron could see colors shifting outside, as if space itself was painted with rivers of blue and gold. He wondered how such travel was even possible. But he kept his questions to himself. The Scifi treated him with care. They offered him food that glowed faintly like pearls. When he tasted it, he was surprised by its sweetness. They gave him water from their world, clear and cold, tasting like fresh mountain rain. Aaron ate slowly, still unsure of his place among them. At night, when he lay in a small chamber of light, he thought about Earth. He remembered the smell of the river, the voices of the workers, the sound of the city in the distance. He wondered if he would ever see it again. Yet a stronger thought pushed inside him. He had been chosen, not by his own hand, but by fate. If this was his path, he would walk it. After many days, the ship slowed. Aaron felt the change as the stars outside stopped stretching into rivers of light and settled into steady points again. A vast world came into view. It was larger than Earth, covered with shining seas and green lands that glowed with life. Above it floated crystal rings, each ring filled with towers and bridges of light. Aaron gasped at the sight. "That is Salara, our home," Cyril said with pride. "Soon you will stand in the palace of Princess Nira." The ship descended through clouds that shone like silver mist. Cities spread below, built on hills of crystal and valleys of living stone. Towers rose high, catching the sunlight and casting rainbows across the land. The air itself seemed to glow. Aaron felt as if he had stepped into a dream. When the ship landed, a line of guards stood waiting. They wore armor that looked like polished glass, holding staffs that burned with pale fire. Yet their faces showed no threat, only calm duty. Cyril led Aaron down the shining steps of the ship. The ground was smooth as crystal, but it felt firm under his feet. Crowds of Scifi gathered to see him. Their eyes glowed faintly as they whispered among themselves. Aaron felt the weight of their gaze. He was a stranger in their world, the first human to stand here. Still, he walked forward with steady steps, telling himself not to show fear. At last, the gates of the palace opened. The palace itself was vast, with walls that shone like white gold. Waterfalls of light poured down from its sides, and gardens of glowing plants stretched around it. Aaron was led through halls lined with crystal pillars, each carved with symbols that shifted and changed like living art. Finally, he entered a great chamber. At the far end sat Princess Nira upon a throne of silver crystal. Her presence filled the hall. She was tall and graceful, her robe shining with deep violet and silver. Her eyes held the strength of one who had ruled for many years. Aaron bowed, as he had seen the Scifi do. Princess Nira looked at him with a calm, unreadable gaze. "So this is the human," she said, "the one fate has sent to us." Her voice was soft, yet it carried through the chamber like a song. Aaron lifted his head and answered with simple words, "I am Aaron. I was chosen. I do not claim to be great, but I will not turn away from what lies before me." A quiet murmur spread through the court. Many Scifi tilted their heads, studying him. They seemed surprised by his plain words. Princess Nira gave a small nod. "Honesty is a strength," she said. "We shall see if you carry more." She turned and raised her hand. From behind her throne, 3 figures stepped forward. Aaron's breath caught. These were the daughters. The eldest, Lyra, walked first. She wore armor made of shining plates, though her movements were graceful as a dancer's. Her eyes were sharp, filled with the weight of a leader. She looked at Aaron as if testing his spirit. The second, Mira, followed with a smile. Her robe glittered with silver threads, and her steps were quick and light. Her eyes shone with mischief, and her smile held a spark of playfulness. She tilted her head at Aaron, as though already planning to tease him. The youngest, Sona, came last. She was quiet, wearing a simple robe of soft blue. Her eyes were calm and thoughtful, and she said nothing, but her gaze lingered on Aaron as if she wished to see beyond his face into his heart. Aaron stood tall, though he felt the weight of their stares. He bowed again. "I greet you." Mira laughed lightly. "He greets us so simply. How different from the suitors who come with long speeches." Lyra narrowed her eyes. "Words are easy. We will see what strength he carries." Sona only nodded, her calm eyes never leaving him. Princess Nira lifted her hand, and the voices in the chamber fell silent. "My daughters will judge in time," she said. "For now, the human shall rest in our halls. But let it be known he is not here as a guest only. He is here as one who may stand among us." The chamber filled with whispers again. Some voices held doubt, others curiosity. Aaron stood still, feeling the weight of his place in this grand hall. He did not know what trials would come. He only knew that 3 pairs of eyes were upon him, each carrying a different question. And so his journey in the palace of the Scifi began. The palace of Scifi was brighter than anything Aaron had ever seen. Its halls were filled with light that seemed to flow like water, moving across the walls in gentle patterns. The air was cool and carried the sweet smell of flowers from distant gardens. Every corner of the palace glowed with life, as if the building itself was alive. Aaron had been given a chamber where he could rest. The bed was soft as cloud, and the walls opened into windows that showed the great city beyond. He stood by one of the windows, looking out at towers that shone like crystal mountains. Flying ships moved between them like birds of silver. The sight filled him with awe, yet he could not rest long, for his heart was heavy with questions. Why had he, a simple man of earth, been chosen to stand here? Could he truly face the eyes of princesses and nobles who expected greatness? He shook his head, telling himself to walk with honesty. He could not pretend to be more than what he was. A soft sound drew his attention. The door to his chamber opened, and a servant entered. The servant was tall and quiet, his robe glowing faintly with blue light. He bowed to Aaron and spoke. "The princess calls for you. Her daughters wish to see you." Aaron felt his chest tighten. He nodded and followed. The servant led him through long halls filled with glowing pillars and fountains of light. At last they reached a wide garden within the palace. Trees with silver leaves stood tall, and streams of shining water ran between them. Birds with wings like crystal flew overhead, their song sweet and clear. There, beneath a wide tree, the three daughters of Princess Nera waited. Lyra stood first, tall and proud. Wearing armor that gleamed in the sun, she held a staff of crystal in her hand, and her sharp eyes watched Aaron as if weighing his worth. Mira sat on the edge of the stream, dipping her fingers into the water with a smile on her face. Her robe glittered as the light touched it, and her eyes sparkled with playful energy. Sona sat quietly on a stone seat, her robe simple and soft, her gaze calm and steady. Aaron bowed with respect. "I greet you again." Mira laughed softly. "So polite. Do all humans bow this much?" Aaron gave a small smile. "Where I come from, it is a way to show respect. But if you do not like it, I will not bow." Mira tilted her head, her smile widening. "I like it. It shows you are not empty with pride." Lyra stepped forward, tapping her staff against the ground. "Enough games, Mira. We must see what kind of spirit this human has. Words are easy, actions show truth." She raised her staff and pointed it toward Aaron. "Tell me, human, if danger came to this palace, would you fight to defend it? Would you protect what is not even your own?" Aaron thought for a moment. His voice was steady when he spoke. "I am not the strongest among my people. I do not carry weapons. But if danger came, I would not run. I would stand as best I could. Even if I fell, I would not turn my back." The garden grew quiet. Even the birds above seemed to pause. Lyra studied him for a long moment, her sharp gaze softer now. She lowered her staff slowly. "A true answer," she said. "Not a boast. Not a promise of greatness, only truth." Mira clapped her hands. "I like him. He does not speak like the others. The suitors who came before us told long tales about their strength. They wanted to impress us with gold and power. But this one speaks as if he does not care to impress at all." Aaron gave a small shrug. "On my world, I was a worker. I lifted crates by the river. I have no gold, no treasures. All I have is my hands and my word. If that is not enough, then I have nothing else to give." Sona, who had been silent, spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft, yet clear. "Sometimes hands and words are more than treasures. Sometimes they carry more weight than crowns and jewels." Aaron turned to her. Her eyes were calm, yet deep, as if she could see into him. For a moment, he felt as if she understood his heart without him needing to speak further. The sisters looked at each other. Lyra gave a small nod. Mira smiled even wider. Sona only folded her hands in her lap and stayed silent again. But before the moment could settle, another voice cut through the garden. It was sharp and full of challenge. "This is the human you brought before us." Aaron turned to see a tall figure step into the garden. He wore armor of dark crystal, and his eyes shone with pride. His name was Kale, a noble of the Solari court. Many whispered that he sought to win the hand of one of the princess's daughters. Though none of them had accepted him, Kale walked forward with heavy steps, his voice strong. "This is the suitor the princess called for, a worker from a small world, a man with no crown, no strength, no power." The daughters frowned, but Kale ignored them. He faced Aaron directly. "Human, you are unworthy to stand here. The Solari deserve greatness, not weakness." Aaron's heart beat faster, but he stood tall. He met Kale's sharp gaze without lowering his own. "I did not come to claim greatness. I was brought here. If I am unworthy, then let the princess decide, not you." A murmur spread through the garden. Even Lyra raised her brow at Aaron's steady answer. Kale's eyes narrowed. He lifted his hand, pointing at Aaron. "Then prove yourself. If you are to stand in this palace, you must face trials. I challenge you." Aaron felt a wave of fear, but he did not step back. His voice stayed firm. "If that is what must be done, then I will face it." The daughters exchanged quick looks. Lyra's eyes shone with interest. Mira clapped her hands again with excitement. Sona watched in silence, her calm face hiding her thoughts. Kale smiled with pride, certain he had already won. "Then it is decided. Let the trials begin." Aaron felt the weight of destiny press heavier on his shoulders. He was only a worker from Earth, Yet now he stood in the center of a world far greater than his own. The eyes of the princess's daughters were upon him. The challenge of a noble stood before him. The garden grew quiet once more, and Aaron knew that his journey had only begun. The challenge of Kale spread quickly through the palace. By the next morning, every hall and every garden whispered about the human who had dared to accept a noble's trial. Some believed Aaron would fail at once. Others wondered if fate had chosen him for a reason. The daughters of Princess Nera stayed silent, each watching with her own thoughts. The great hall of trials was prepared. It was a wide chamber carved from shining crystal. Its roof opened to the sky, where sunlight poured down like fire. Hundreds of Scifi gathered in the seats that circled the hall, waiting to see the contest. Guards stood tall along the walls, their armor glowing faintly. The air was heavy with expectation. Aaron entered the hall with steady steps. He wore no armor, only the simple clothes given to him when he arrived. His hands were empty. He looked small compared to the tall Scifi, yet his eyes did not lower. Across from him, Kale stood in his dark armor, a staff of crystal in his hand. His face carried pride and certainty of victory. Princess Nera sat upon a raised seat, her daughters beside her. She lifted her hand, and the voices in the hall fell silent. Her voice carried clear across the chamber. Kale of the noble house, you have given challenge. Aaron of earth has accepted. By our law, he shall face the trials. Let strength, wisdom, and heart decide. The first trial began. Kale stepped forward, striking his staff against the ground. A circle of energy formed round them, locking the two inside. His voice rang out, the trial of strength. Show us if the human carries power. Aaron breathed deeply. He knew he could not match the force of a Scifi warrior. But he remembered his words to Lyra in the garden. He would not run, and he would not turn his back. Kale moved quickly, swinging his staff with glowing light. Aaron dodged, his steps quick and sharp. He had no weapon, but he used his body as he once used it on Earth, moving with the skill of someone used to hard work. He bent, rolled, and slipped aside as Kale struck again and again. The crowd murmured. Though Aaron did not fight back with strength, he did not fall. His speed and timing kept him standing. At last Kale struck hard, breaking the ground where Aaron had stood a moment earlier. Aaron saw his chance. He moved behind Kale and pushed with all his strength against the back of the noble's knees. Kale stumbled forward, his staff slipping from his grasp for a breath of time. Gasps filled the hall. Aaron did not defeat Kale, but he had shown cleverness against a stronger foe. Princess Nera lifted her hand, and the energy circle faded. The first trial is past, she said. Strength is not only in arms but in spirit and in skill. The human stands. Kale's face burned with anger, but he held his voice and prepared for the next test. The second trial was brought forward by the council. A great crystal board was placed before them, filled with shifting pieces of light. It was a puzzle of ancient design, older than the palace itself. Few could solve it, for it required both patience and wisdom. Kale spoke proudly. This trial will show if the human's mind is weak. The pieces on the board glowed, shifting into a pattern of stars and lines. Aaron stared at it, unsure at first, yet as he studied, memories of Earth returned to him. He thought of maps, rivers, and the way ships followed currents across the water. The puzzle's shapes reminded him of paths and flows. Slowly, he began to move the glowing pieces. Each move caused new lights to appear. The Scifi watched in silence as the human, with no training in their puzzles, found answers through simple observation. His hands moved calmly, guided by thought, not haste. After long moments, the puzzle lit up fully, shining with the image of a star system complete. The crowd gasped in surprise. Few had expected the human to succeed. Princess Nera spoke again, her voice steady. The second trial is past. Wisdom can rise from any world. Kale's pride shook, yet he still held hope. His voice grew sharp. One more trial remains, the trial of the heart. At his words, the chamber darkened. A circle of light formed. Round Aaron, shadows grew from the floor, shaping into visions. Aaron saw his river back on Earth. He saw the docks where he had worked, the people he had known. Then the vision shifted. The river dried, the city fell into ruin, and the people he cared about turned to dust. A voice whispered around him. You left them. You chose the stars over your home. You abandoned what you loved. Aaron's chest ached, his breath heavy. But he stood firm. I did not abandon them. I was called. My steps brought me here, but my heart remembers Earth. Even if I never return, I will not forget my people. The vision shifted again. He now saw the palace of Solara in flames. The daughters cried for help. The princess fell, and Kale stood victorious. The voice whispered again, You cannot save them. You are too weak. Give up. Aaron clenched his fists. His voice rose strong. Even if I am weak, I will not turn away. If they need me, I will stand. Let me fall, but I will not abandon. The shadows faded. The chamber filled again with light. The crowd was silent, moved by the strength in his words. Princess Nera stood. The trial of the heart is past. Fear and sorrow could not break him. The hall filled with voices, some in awe, some in disbelief. Aaron stood breathing heavily, but his eyes were steady. Kel's pride shattered. He had expected the human to fail at once, yet Aaron had passed all 3 trials. Rage filled his face. He spoke with sharp anger. This proves nothing. He is still only human. He does not deserve to stand among us. But the daughters rose. Lyra lifted her staff high. He has shown courage. I respect him. Mira clapped her hands with joy. He has made the trials exciting. I like him more than all the suitors before. Sona spoke softly, yet her words carried weight. He faced the shadows and did not break. That is strength beyond pride. Kel's anger boiled. But the princess lifted her hand. Enough. The trials are ended. The human has earned his place among us. The hall echoed with voices. Some cheered, others doubted, but none could deny the truth. Aaron had faced the challenge and stood victorious. As the crowd slowly left the hall, Aaron looked up at the princess and her daughters. He felt no pride, only relief. Yet deep within, a spark grew. Perhaps he truly did belong in this story of stars. Kale, however, left the hall with dark eyes. His anger not broken but burning stronger. He swore silently that the human would not stand long in his path, and so the trials ended. But the true struggle was only beginning. The great hall of trials had ended in a way no one expected. Aaron, a simple human from Earth, had stood against Kel's strength, solved the puzzle of wisdom, and faced the illusions of the heart. Though he had not shown the power of a warrior, he had shown something that could not be denied. He had shown courage. When the crowd left, whispers filled every street of Solara. Some called Aaron lucky, others said fate guided him, but many more began to speak of the human with respect. They had seen his spirit and could not forget it, yet in the shadows of the palace, Kale walked with anger burning inside him. His pride was wounded, and his plans were broken. He had hoped to show the court that the human was weak, but instead Aaron had gained honor. Kel's hands tightened as he swore to himself that he would not be defeated. If trials of law had failed, then he would turn to other ways. Aaron, unaware of Kel's dark thoughts, spent his days within the palace gardens. Servants guided him, showing him the beauty of Solara. There were forests of shining trees, lakes of silver water, and creatures with wings like glass that flew in the open air. Aaron walked among them, filled with wonder at every step. But it was not the gardens that tested him most. It was the time he spent with the daughters of Princess Nera. Each day, they came to him, not as judges, but as voices who wished to know him better. Lyra, the eldest, was always serious. She asked him questions about Earth. How do humans lead their people? How do they fight wars? How do they keep peace? Her questions were sharp, as if she wished to measure his strength not only in body but in knowledge. Aaron answered as best he could. He spoke of Earth's leaders, some who ruled with justice and some who failed. He spoke of wars that had hurt his world, but also of people who sought peace through unity. He did not hide Earth's weaknesses, but he spoke of its hope. Lyra listened, her sharp gaze softening as she began to see not weakness, but honesty. Mira was different. She cared little for talk of leaders or battles. She wanted stories. She asked Aaron about rivers, mountains, and the cities of Earth. She wanted to know what humans ate, how they sang, how they celebrated. Aaron told her of music, by the fire, of festivals in the streets, of the taste of bread and fruit. Mira laughed at his words, her eyes shining with delight. She found joy in his simple tales, for they were unlike the polished speeches of suitors from other worlds. Sona, the youngest, was quiet. She asked few questions, yet she was always near. She would sit beside him as he spoke with her sisters, saying little but listening with care. Sometimes she asked about his dreams, not of the stars, but of his heart. Aaron answered truthfully, saying he wished not for crowns or treasures, but for meaning in the path he walked. Sona's calm eyes seemed to see deeper than the words themselves, as if she could feel the truth in his spirit. Together, the daughters began to see Aaron not as a stranger, but as a man whose heart was steady. The court noticed this as well. Whispers spread that the human was earning not only respect, but also the interest of the princess's daughters. But Kale did not sleep in peace. From his chambers, he began to weave plans. He spoke to those who envied the humans' rise. He promised them power if they stood with him. Slowly, he gathered a small circle of allies. Hidden from the eyes of the court, he studied ways to bring Aaron down, not through open trial, but through secret plots. One evening, as Aaron walked in the garden, he was joined by Lyra. She carried her staff, though not in challenge, but as part of her. Her sharp eyes studied him. You fought with no weapon, she said. You solved puzzles with no training. You faced illusions with only your will. But Kale is not done. He will not rest until he brings you down. Are you ready for that? Aaron breathed deeply. I am not ready for everything, but I will not run from him. Lyra gave a small nod. Good. A warrior does not always need a blade. Sometimes courage itself is the weapon. Later that night, Aaron sat in the hall of music with Mira. She handed him a small Solari instrument shaped like a crystal harp. Play something from Earth, she said with a smile. Aaron laughed softly. I do not know how to play this. Then try, Mira said. Play with your heart, not your skill. Aaron touched the strings carefully. The sound that came was rough at first, but he remembered the simple songs sung by the river. Slowly, he found a rhythm. The harp sang with notes that were not perfect, but carried warmth. Mira clapped her hands with joy. See? Even your clumsy music carries more truth than the polished songs of nobles. Sona joined them quietly. She listened without speaking until the song ended. Then she said softly, Truth is music of its own. That is why it reaches the heart. Aaron looked at her and smiled. You hear more than others, Sona. She only lowered her eyes with a faint smile, saying nothing more. In the days that followed, Aaron's bond with the daughters grew. Each of them saw a different side of him. Lyra saw his honesty and duty. Mira saw his joy in simple things, and Sona saw the quiet strength of his spirit. The court grew restless, for it seemed the human was becoming more than a guest. He was becoming a true suitor. But in the shadows, Kale moved. He placed hidden devices in the palace, machines that bent light and sound. He sought to create chaos, to blame it on the human, and to turn the court against him. His allies whispered lies, saying the human carried secrets of Earth that could harm Solara. Kale's plan grew like a storm waiting to strike. One night, Aaron awoke in his chamber to a faint sound. The crystal wall near him flickered, as if a shadow moved across it. He rose and followed the sound, finding a small device hidden behind the wall. It glowed with strange light, humming with power. He frowned, touching it carefully. This was no part of the palace. Someone had placed it here. He did not know its purpose, but he felt the danger in its hum. And so Aaron stood at the edge of a greater test. He had passed the trials of strength, wisdom, and heart, but now he faced something deeper, the hidden shadow of Kel's plan. The daughters trusted him, yet the court still watched with doubt. One wrong step could end his place in Solara forever. Aaron closed his hand round the device and whispered to himself, If I am to stand here, I must find the truth. The night of shadows had begun. The glowing device in Aaron's hand pulsed with a strange energy. It looked like a crystal, but its light twisted in unnatural ways. Aaron had seen machines of Earth, but nothing like this. He knew at once that it was not a gift nor a part of Solera's palace. Someone had placed it there with purpose. He carried it carefully to the outer courtyard. The night was calm, and the silver trees shone under the twin moons. Aaron studied the crystal, but its meaning was hidden from him. Just then, a soft voice came from behind. "You should not touch that," said Sona. She stepped forward, her quiet eyes watching the object with concern. Aaron lowered it slowly. "Do you know what it is?" Sona nodded. "It is a disruptor, a tool that bends light and sound. In the wrong hands, it can create false images and voices. It can make a friend look like an enemy." Aaron felt a chill. "Then someone placed it here to trick others, to make it seem like I was doing harm." Sona's eyes grew sad. "Yes, and the court would believe it, for many still doubt you." Aaron clenched his hand round the crystal. He did not speak in anger, but his voice carried resolve. "Then, I must find who placed it here. If I do nothing, their lies will grow stronger." Sona gave a small nod. "You are right, but be careful. The one behind this does not fight with honor. They move in shadows." The next day, Aaron spoke to Lyra and Mira in secret. He showed them the device, and both were troubled. Lyra's sharp voice cut the silence. "I know this craft. Kel's house has long studied such tools. I warned you he would not rest. This is his hand at work." Mira frowned deeply. "But if we accuse him without proof, he will twist the words back upon us. The court will say, 'We protect you only because of favor.'" Aaron agreed. "Then we must gather truth. If Kel wishes to trap me, I will not hide. I will walk into his net and break it." The daughters looked at him with a mix of fear and respect. The human who had once seemed weak now spoke with the calm strength of a leader. That night, Aaron left the device in his chamber, just as he had found it. Then he waited. He did not sleep, but watched from the shadows of his room. Hours passed, until at last he saw movement. A figure entered quietly, cloaked in dark fabric. The figure reached for the device, adjusting it with quick hands. Aaron stepped forward. "Why place this here again?" he asked. The figure turned, startled. For a moment Aaron saw the sharp eyes of one of Kel's allies. The man fled, rushing through the halls. Aaron gave chase, his feet pounding against the shining floors of the palace. The chase led through the gardens, past the silver fountains, until the man tripped upon a stone. The device rolled from his hand. Guards arrived, drawn by the noise. They seized the man, who struggled and cried out. The device lay between them, glowing like a cursed jewel. Princess Nera herself was called to the scene. Her tall form appeared, her presence stilling the crowd. She looked at the prisoner, then at Aaron. "Explain," she said. Aaron bowed respectfully and told the truth of what he had seen. He spoke of the device, of Sona's warning, of waiting in his chamber. The captured man trembled but said nothing. Nera's gaze pierced him. "Speak," she commanded. The man broke under her voice. He confessed that Kel had ordered him to place the devices. He spoke of how Kel planned to use them to cast illusions during the next gathering of the court. He would make Aaron appear as a traitor, showing him speaking false words and plotting against Solara. With such proof, Kel hoped the court would turn against the human, and the daughters would withdraw their trust. The crowd gasped, anger flashing through them. Many had doubted the human, but now they saw the cruelty of Kel's schemes. Nera's eyes burned with fire. Kel has betrayed the honor of Solara. He has turned from open challenge to hidden treachery. For this, he shall stand before judgment. Word spread quickly across the city. Some were shocked, others pleased to see Kel's pride fall. But Kel himself was not broken. When guards came to take him, he did not weep or beg. He stood tall, his voice sharp with fury. "You think this human is your savior. He is nothing. I will show you all the cost of trusting him." He was taken to the lower chambers to await trial. But whispers said he plotted still. Aaron, though cleared of blame, did not rest. He knew Kel's anger would not end in chains. The man's pride was too deep. That evening, as Aaron walked with Mira, she spoke in worry. "What if Kel escapes? What if he strikes again?" Aaron looked at her and answered calmly, "Then I will face him again, not with tricks, not with lies, but with truth." That is the only weapon he cannot take from me. Mira touched the harp she carried and said softly, "Then let your truth be a song stronger than his anger." Later, Lyra approached him with her warrior's staff. Kale will try to fight again. When he does, stand firm. Do not let his shadow make you doubt yourself. And Sona, as always, spoke little. But when she stood beside him, her quiet gaze gave him strength. He felt that he was no longer alone. The next morning, the court gathered in the grand chamber. The daughters stood with their mother, and Aaron stood before them as well. The people filled the seats, their voices rising with expectation. Kale was brought forward, his chains clinking as he walked, but his eyes still burned with defiance. Nira raised her voice. "Kale, you have been charged with treachery. You sought to deceive the court with false visions. What do you say in defense?" Kale laughed bitterly. "I say the court is blind. This human has fooled you all. He is weak, and your trust in him will doom Solara. If you truly believe in him, then let him face me one final time. No illusions, no tricks, a duel of truth. Let the stars themselves decide." The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Aaron. Would he accept Kel's challenge? Or would he step aside, risking the loss of the trust he had gained? Aaron looked at Nira, then at the daughters. He took a deep breath. "I will face him," he said. His voice was steady, not for pride, not for crowns, but to show that truth cannot be broken by lies. The chamber erupted in voices. Some cheered, some gasped in fear. But the choice was made. The final duel had been called. Aaron stood tall, knowing that the path ahead would decide not only his fate, but the place of humankind in the eyes of Solara. The great chamber of Solara was filled with light. Tall crystal walls reflected the glow of the twin suns, and voices echoed across the hall. The people had gathered from every corner of the city. Some came to see justice. Some came to see pride destroyed. All came to see the final duel between Kale, the once-honored leader, and Aaron, the human suitor who had surprised them all. Princess Nira stood tall on the high platform, her eyes firm as she looked upon the two men. Her 3 daughters stood at her side, each of them watching with hope and fear. Guards lined the edges, their weapons ready in case the duel broke into chaos. Kale stepped forward first. His chains had been removed, and in his hands was a staff of polished steel. His eyes burned with anger, his voice sharp as he spoke. "This human does not belong here. He walks among us as if he is our equal, but he is nothing more than a stranger. Today I will prove it. When he falls, you will remember who the true protector of Solara is." The people murmured. Some nodded in agreement, others shook their heads. Then Aaron stepped forward. He held no weapon at first, only the simple strength in his hands. His eyes were steady, his voice calm as he spoke. "I did not come here to steal honor. I did not come here to rule over you. I came here because I was called. I came because I was trusted. I fight today not to defeat Kale, but to defend truth. If I fall, then let it be with honor. But if I stand, let it be proof that even a human can carry respect." The crowd grew silent. The duel was about to begin. 2 guards brought Aaron a weapon of choice. Instead of the shining swords or heavy hammers, Aaron picked a staff of plain wood. It was light and simple, but it reminded him of training back on Earth. He did not want a weapon of pride. He wanted a tool he understood. Nira raised her hand. "The duel begins. Let it be fair. Let it be true." The chamber echoed with the sound of her command. Kale rushed forward at once, his steel staff striking with speed. Aaron blocked, the wood shaking in his grip. Kale was strong and trained. Each strike carried force. But Aaron did not yield. He stepped back, shifted his weight, and used patience. The crowd gasped as Kale's attacks grew faster. Sparks flew as steel clashed against wood. Aaron bent low, dodging one strike, then swung upward to push Kale back. His movements were not perfect, but they were steady, built on calm focus. Lyra watched with her heart racing. She whispered, "He fights with balance, not with rage. That is his strength." Mira's hands clutched her harp as if it gave her courage. She whispered, "He will not break." Sona stood silent, her eyes never leaving Aaron. Kale grew impatient. His pride demanded a quick victory, but the human refused to fall. Anger clouded his strikes, and his movements lost their rhythm. Aaron saw the weakness. He shifted his stance and struck low, sweeping Kale's legs. Kale stumbled, falling to one knee. The crowd roared in shock. But Kale rose again, his fury even greater. He swung with wild strength, driving Aaron back step by step. Aaron's arms ached, his breath heavy, but he did not lose focus. He thought of his family on Earth, of the trust the daughters had given him, of the belief that humans could stand equal among stars. That thought gave him strength. Kale lifted his staff high for a crushing blow, but Aaron moved swiftly. He sidestepped, letting the steel crash against the floor. In that moment, Aaron struck with the end of his wooden staff, pushing Kale off balance once more. Kale fell hard, his staff slipping from his grasp. The chamber fell silent. Kale lay on the ground, defeated. Aaron stood over him, his staff ready, but he did not strike. Instead, he lowered his weapon and stepped back. "I will not end this with hate," Aaron said. His voice carried across the hall. The duel was to show truth, and truth is clear. Pride cannot stand without honor. Lies cannot win against patience. The people erupted in cheers. Many had doubted the human, but now their voices rose in support. "Aaron, Aaron, Aaron," they cried, filling the chamber with his name. Kale struggled to his feet, his face pale with shame. He looked at the cheering crowd, at Nira, at the daughters, and then at Aaron. For the first time, his pride faltered. His voice was broken as he said, "I have lost." Nira's voice rang strong. "Yes, Kale, you have lost not only the duel, but the trust of Solara. From this day, your place among the council is ended. You will live not as a leader, but as one who must learn humility." Kale bowed his head. Defeated at last, guards led him away, and the chamber turned back to Aaron. Nira stepped down from her throne, her eyes fixed on the human. She stood before him, her tall form casting a shadow, yet her voice was filled with warmth. "You have shown us courage without arrogance. You have shown us strength without cruelty. You have proven that humans can stand with us, not as servants, but as equals. Solara shall remember this day." The daughters came forward. Lyra placed her hand on Aaron's shoulder. "You fought with honor. You earned the right to stand among warriors." Mira smiled softly. "Your truth became a song in the hearts of all who watched." Sona simply looked into his eyes and said, "You did not stand alone, and now you never will." The people cheered again, their voices rising until the chamber shook with sound. For the first time in the history of Solara, a human had stood before their court and proven his worth. That night, the city was filled with celebration. Lights danced in the sky. Music filled the streets, and people spoke of the duel. Children played with wooden staffs, pretending to be the human who defeated Kale. Elders spoke of how history had changed, for a new bond had been forged between Earth and Solara. Aaron sat with the daughters on the palace balcony, looking out at the glowing towers of the city. The stars stretched wide above, endless and bright. "I never thought my journey would lead here," he said quietly. Lyra laughed gently. "The stars guide those who walk with courage." Mira played a soft tune on her harp. "Your name will be remembered in every song we sing." Sona sat close, her voice calm. "The journey is not over, it has only begun." Aaron smiled, feeling peace within him. For the first time, he was not a stranger among them. He was part of their story, and they were part of his. The bond between Earth and Solara was sealed, not by crowns or treaties, but by truth, trust, and courage. And so, the tale of the human suitor who stood against pride and one became a legend among the stars.